Mark, glad to have you aboard. Good show tonight. Many of you are watching NFL football. I'm telling you, I've seen so much football is coming out of my eyes, ears, and nose. I love football. I can never get too much. But I'm telling you what, in these last 10 days, it's been fantastic football, both the National Football League and the remarkable story of things like Indiana and even Miami to a certain extent in the national championship game. Lots to talk about tonight. Shane Matthews will join the program in just a minute. We'll also have our good buddies Kevin Brockway have a few things to talk about. Basketball, all of a sudden, things are heating up. What a performance by the Dreadlocks. It was amazing what he did. And it was just a wonderful performance by a guy we've been hoping to see something out of for a long time. We'll talk about that with Kevin in just a minute. And also, Franz Beard got a big book signing coming up, 2 of them next week. Lots to talk about. Want to get your take? Tell your friends and neighbors. The Buddy Martin Show is on the air. And coming up next is our buddy, Shane Matthews.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Football has been fantastic, both at the national championship level of college football coming up next week. Unbelievable stories. I don't know if there's been a better story in college football than Indiana. Yeah, in football. Great stuff there. Also, NFL is just, if you like the NFL, you're lucky because you're getting just delectable treats. The last game tonight, to finish up the playoffs, and we'll get the overview. Let's talk to a guy who played in the league for a long time. I think sometimes, are we stupid? We got a guy who played in the league for 12 years, 13 years, whatever it is, on 6 or 7 different teams, knows a lot about it, and we don't ever ask him. Tonight, I'm going to say the floor is yours, Shane Matthews. Good evening to you. Happy football. I know you're watching Peyton and Eli, but this has been an unbelievable couple of weeks. And it was a tough weekend for your hotty-toddy family. I really felt for them. I really wanted them to win for you, Shane, and also for Jaguar fans. Wow, what a heartbreak. But that's football. Tonight, Steelers are leading over the Texans 3-0. I think the Texans are the favorites. Over under 39-5. I think it looks pretty safe. That's what I would have said before the game. How are you, Shane?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Well, I'm really. I told you this before. I don't want you to take it the wrong way, fans. I love my college football, and I'm beginning to like what I see on the NFL. But I'm almost ready. I'm saturated, and I'm almost ready for a little bit of slowdown. Take a breath and watch a little golf and baseball. I know I'm getting booed, but boy, oh boy. So talk about the NFL. It was just insane, dramatic games with the Rams and Bears and Bills and 49ers and Patriots advancing. And by the way, I turned off the Deadgum Bears game and came back and said, what? This can't be happening. Tell me, what was the experience for you like? First of all, let's talk about your Ole Miss team. That was a heartbreak.
Yeah, it was a heck of a game, man. Quarterback played outstanding. It was a great year for Ole Miss. Miami just made a couple more plays than they did at the end, and Miami now moves on to see if they can defeat Indiana.
Tough way to lose. He didn't beat you with his arm, but he'll beat you with his feet. But that's the way it goes. All right, let's discuss Jaguars. I know was tough for the folks up there if you're a Jaguar fan. But let's focus in right now on what we saw in college football. I want to not forget about this. I'm going to call about it tonight. And I know you can accuse me of being, uh, Gator crazy and orange and blue glasses and stuff. But what a 10-day or 9-day period this that Sumrall has had at Florida with his players he's brought in. Shane, you've been told me that you think the best receiver is coming on the team right now from Auburn, and they've got some good ones. Talk about what you think. First, let's talk about the NFL. Then I'll talk about him. All right, wild card weekend. Your take.
Oh, it's been great. Usually, the NFL, you don't get a whole lot of close games in the playoffs. You get some games that are kind of boring, but boy, oh boy, just some tremendous quarterback play from certain guys. But it's been a lot of fun to watch.
Heard you and JC talk about it this morning. What was your big take? You know what's funny about it is this, as gigantic as this game is, these unbelievable field goal kickers kicking these 90-yard field goals. I exaggerate, but it's unbelievable. And then some of the games being decided by an extra point or the rhythm of the game, whatever, missing extra points. That floors me sometimes, Shane.
Yeah, it's amazing how far not just NFL kickers kick the ball now, but the college kickers. I mean, 57-yard field goals are chip shots. But then they miss a couple of crucial ones here and there.
Yeah.
But it happens. And, I know the Jags missed a field goal. Obviously, last week, Baltimore misses one to get into the playoffs. Every play matters.
I kind of hate for it to be decided by the kicker, but they're strategized. They're getting when you're only down by a field goal, you play a different game the last couple of minutes, and they're all coming down to the last 2 or 3 minutes. It's almost like they got a formula, and they're driving, and they say, "Oh, they should have got that extra point, then they'd be able to tie with the field goal." It's been interesting, but it's been good theater and good football. What is your take? Who do you like? The Bears, I thought they were out. Now they're back in it again. Talk about what's ahead and what games you like and who you like to win it all.
Well, I picked the Rams to play Buffalo when it all started. I still like both of those teams. The Bears have had multiple fourth quarter comebacks this year, and they're hosting the Rams, and I'm sure the weather's going to be bad. Seattle and San Fran, both those teams are really good, got two good quarterbacks. Shanahan can just really out-scheme you. And then, Buffalo's got to go to Denver. I still like Buffalo in that game. And then we'll find out tonight who plays the New England Patriots, who they're pretty good at home, especially with their quarterback.
A lot of people think they're going to win it all, the Patriots.
They could.
Their defense is remarkable. They, of course, beat the Chargers. And I don't know what Harbaugh was thinking, but boy, that situation. And then, of course, we mentioned Jacksonville losing to Buffalo. The Rams, I thought they lost to the Carolina Panthers. How about those Panthers playing like they did? They finally did lose 34-31, but the Rams had to really scramble.
Yeah, I still don't know how the Panthers were even in that game. The Rams should have blown it open. They're up 14-0 and had other opportunities to blow it open, just never did. Kept it close and had to have a game-winning drive by Matt Stafford.
What do you think of the Bears-Packers game, the way it ended with the Bears coach snubbing the Packers coach at the end?
Well, I didn't get to see any of that game, buddy. I don't have Prime, so I just saw.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have like 9 networks now to be able to watch stuff. I watched them all, man. I watched them all, of course, for the 49ers and the Seahawks. All right, so let's go to before we go to Sumrall, there's a lot to talk about. I think if you look at what he's done, and I did an exhaustive search this week, and Franz Beard has a piece in Gatorbait, by the way, on every single player that Florida's picking up. And actually, the rest of the SEC is terrific. If you're not a member, you ought to be. You can join it pretty cheap at GatorbaitMedia.com, and he's got it all. So we got that going on. And here's the remarkable story. Ty Simpson, who declared for the NFL draft last week. Listen to this. They've already been offered upwards of $6.5 million to stay in college another year and transfer. And this was reported today by a reliable source. Miami is offering him $6.5 million. Shane, these are college ball players. $6.5 million. Tennessee $4 million, and Ole Miss offering $4 million. So anyway, it's crazy stuff happening there. All right, so give me your clear thoughts on Sumrall. If you go over his list of pickups, they have gone to in 20 days they just grabbed half their team. They got the quarterback that you wanted. They got the offensive coordinator you want, and you tell me that this receiver from Auburn walks on the field as the best receiver on the roster, right?
Yeah, he's produced more. I mean, he's got more production. I mean, he's an older guy. He was at Georgia Tech a couple of years ago, and everybody wanted him. But Eric Singleton is a electrifying player at the wide receiver position. It's somewhat amazing that we were getting him. I know he probably makes more money than anybody on our roster, is my guess. But yeah, I like everything they've done. And I think the skill positions, they've really enhanced the program. I think the offensive line is going to help bringing in guys.
Big stuff from Stanford he just got.
Yeah, I don't know much about him. Again, Stanford has not been very good. So,
well, he's like 6'5" and 320 something, and he's a smart guy, and he played a little bit. So, and you got a guy who knows how to coach him. Troutwine's got some big studs coming in. They're big boys, if you go by what I've been reading. Again, I don't know this except what I read. Other people have written it, and they say that Troutwine, and there's been a connection. I mentioned this the other day, and I mentioned it in my column today. When's the last time Florida had a Penn State connection? We talked about it last week, didn't we?
No, but my guess is Galen Hall.
It's Galen Hall, and he was a quarterback, and he came here in the year, I think, before he came or right when he came, they had what they called the Great Wall, which are some studs that Florida has all-time, until Pouncey came along, all-time best offensive line. And Troutwine comes along, and what's his connection? 6 years at Penn State. He was a stud offensive lineman, and he has got people lined up to come here. They shouldn't have a problem with their offensive line, which, by the way, last year I could never quite figure out. Could you?
No, they've had ups and downs. I'll just tell people you got to trust your coaches with, like you said, Troutwine bringing guys from Penn State that he's familiar with. Georgia Tech has played physical on the line of scrimmage the last few years. So any offensive lineman we get from there, you got to like.
Yeah, for sure. Let me tell you just for a second. I know you mentioned on your show, and I want to tell you about it because we're putting a big emphasis on this, and our friends in Ocala are turning out big time for it. I hope if you're in that way, you can tell your people about it. We've got this book out, which is terrific. Franz Beard wrote it. It's the golden season about the national championship year. Jeffrey Melton just bought 100 of them the other day and gave them out to people. But we're having a couple of signings in Ocala, if I may mention them real quick. Franz Beard will be there. I will not be there, but we're having him next week. We're having one on Tuesday at the location of the Cogent Bank downtown on the square. There's information on the Facebook page, and we'll be around. You'll see a lot on my social media about that. It's at 11:30 in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Chance for you to buy a copy of the book. And there's several people that called me and said, "Gosh, I didn't get any. I want to go buy 4 or 5 more." And we're glad we can do that for you. And this might be the last time we sign in Ocala. And then we're going to have that Tuesday thing. There'll be some terrific people. Matt McCall, the former basketball coach at Florida, the son of Wayne McCall, Randy Briggs, Tom Ingram, just a bunch of people coming out for that on Tuesday. So be sure and try to get by there. If you're in the neighborhood, get your copy. Franz will be there. I will not. Carlton Reese will be there. And then on Saturday, we have another one right before the Auburn game. Excuse me, Prestige Auto in Ocala, and a good buddy and photographer who took all the pictures in the book, Chris Spears, will be hosting it from 11 to 1, and a bunch of stuff to give away. And in both of those, we're going to give away the championship rings. Thanks to Meldon Law, we have one for each place. You come in and say the magic word, Meldon Law, and you get in the drawing. And if you win, you take home a championship ring. Those are really nice. Did you say you have one, Shane?
I do have one.
Pretty nice, aren't they?
I'm trying to remember how I got one.
Freddie.
Well, yeah, they're very nice. They're very nice.
And look, I tell you, sent me a picture of one. I don't have one yet. He sent me a picture. I had to write him and say, is that the ring or is that a replica? Whatever. He said it's a replica. And I'm sure this guy here would like to have one. Let's get Kevin over real fast, sir. Even to you, Kevin. How you doing, buddy?
Shane, how are you? Happy New Year. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. Yeah, everything is good, right? Florida basketball looks like it's back on track, buddy, right? Did you ever track down the barber or no? Apparently it's the same barber.
We're going to talk about that in a minute after Shane, but we get Franz on here. But boy, Boogie Flan. Shane, did you get to watch any of that game?
I was on the golf course, buddy.
I'm telling you, Shane, I'm not making this up. It was remarkable. You talk about a guy, you want all the expectations that you had for him, and he cut off his dreadlock, didn't he, Kevin?
Yeah, I saw that.
Cut off the dreads and obviously played better, but one game. Let's see.
But it was more than one game. He knocked down everything. And
I said one game, buddy, not one shot. One game. 23 points in one game.
But he did hit everything.
He played well, yeah, but it's one
everything.
game. That's the point. You got to sustain it.
23 points, Kevin. Let's don't forget. He scored 23, and he was a force.
Scored 20 or more 7 or 8 times this year. So
bottom line is, I was really impressed, and I think it unlocked the secret for this team because we know how good they are everywhere else. No
question. And it's got like I said, let's see it carry over. Obviously, you got 2 huge games on the road this week. What's amazing to me, and I kind of wrote about this, buddy, that's kind of, funny is Nigel Pack is still around. He's a 6-year senior. This is a guy that I covered in 2019 at Indiana All-Star game, and this is kind of the byproduct of where we are in college. Trinidad Chambliss is trying to get another year, right? Carson Beck, a 6-year senior.
He didn't get it, by the way.
Indiana is, he's challenging the lawsuit actually today.
He's had enough. I'm tired of 30-year-old guys playing football. And move on.
Yeah. Indiana's got I think 6-year seniors. So this whole trend of getting old and staying old is kind of here to stay in college sports. And
let me shift gears one fast here, and you can join in the conversation. First, I want to tell you about Meldon Law. Jeffrey Meldon's been fantastic with supporting what we're doing here with the book signing next week. Jeffrey, of course, does a lot of things great for Florida. Sponsor. I was on Jeffrey's podcast last week and also his radio show. And Meldon Law is just right there. They're always there. They've grown from a small firm to 50-something people now. They got 4 locations to serve you: Ocala, Gainesville, Lake City, and Williston. And then, of course, they got the South Florida office now, 50 different one. And they've got a terrific organization. Jeffrey and his son are doing a great job on Meldon Law. If you need a good lawyer, you need a gator, go see them. They're located right there, and they'll be happy to take your case. By the way, all right, let's talk about this. Shane, I'm ready to declare that this Indiana story is probably the best college football story I can ever remember, with all the things that are happening. And again, they're not just winning games, Shane. They're dominating blue blood teams. They took these teams apart. I mean, I don't know how suddenly they transform. I mean, they just do everything right. And I'm telling you, Mendoza is a terrific player. It's a great story to go back to his hometown to play the Miami Hurricanes. It's like out of a Hollywood script. I mean, he grew up a mile from the campus. He won a state championship at Columbus High School, Miami. The alma mater of Mario Cristobal. Mendoza's mother played tennis at Miami. Mendoza dreamed of playing quarterback for Miami, but Manny Diaz's staff was very hesitant to offer him a walk-on spot. Mendoza considered Miami when his transfer portal last season, but he finally chose Indiana. Boy, has he changed it. Mendoza's 5th game this year, that he completed more TDs than incompletions. Shane, I don't know. Maybe he won't be a great pro, but to me, it looks like he's the real deal.
No, I think he's got a chance to be a really good pro.
Well, they're saying he might not go to the 4th round, 3rd round. I don't care.
That doesn't matter.
I know it doesn't. You're right. You're right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. No, I think he'll be he'll go in the first 2 rounds. He's got to be the top quarterback coming out, in my opinion.
Mine too, but I saw somebody say the other day who was a draft expert, he was a 4th rounder.
Well, usually those people don't know what the hell they're talking about anyway.
I agree with you on that.
He is he's a unique kid. You know, I laugh every time I hear one of his interviews because it's just funny to me. I've always said when he looks like back in the day, when you had those dudes that would come knock on your door to sell you encyclopedias.
Yeah,
that's what he reminds me of. But
that's what Johnny Carson was, by the way, before he started.
He's very fundamentally sound. He's very intelligent. He knows.
You like his throwing motion, don't you? Like his throwing motion?
Yeah, I mean he's got a great release,
direct, dart, quick release, right?
I think he's the one that makes everything go. I think what's interesting about their offense is, the one wide receiver is a Charlie. What's his name? Rogers.
Beck.
What's his name? Kevin. The kid.
Well, I know Omar Cooper and I know Surratt. So Charlie.
Charlie, whatever his name is.
Baker, is it?
Charlie Baker. No. Yeah, he's from Nashville, but can fly. The Surratt kid. People don't know this. He came from James Madison, but before he's at James Madison, I believe he was at St. Francis, which is like a really small college. Look, these guys can coach, and they're very well prepared. Everybody does their assignment. I do think they're going to beat Miami.
Do you?
Charlie Becker is the receiver. The 6'4", 209 kid. So, and Omar Cooper is a kid I actually covered at a basketball game at Lawrence North High School, and he was kind of like a football player that played basketball, physical, you could tell. But he was a 4-star guy. He was recruited by West Virginia. He was actually a Tom Allen holdover, and he obviously had that huge catch against Penn State too. Yeah, so they got plenty of weapons, and they run the ball really well. They're just so fun. Yeah, they're not going to beat themselves, in my opinion. From Miami. See, I thought Miami played kind of a BC game against Ole Miss and still found a way to win. I thought they played a BC game against Texas A&M. Their best game of the playoffs so far was against Ohio State. If they play like they did against Ohio State, they've got a shot here to win.
Let me address a couple of things here, and Kevin, you can jump in too, but I want to ask Shane particularly. This is I know what you're going to say. Well, this guy says, what do you think of all the other programs getting higher rated quarterbacks in the portal in Florida? I'm concerned with the quarterback room. I'm not the least. I know Shane's not, right?
No, I mean, look, Trinidad Chambliss took his team to the semifinals. And if Florida had signed that kid last year, they would have burned the school down, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they'd be like, why are we signing a guy for Ferris? I say this all the time. There are so many good players across America. We just talked about Indiana's guys. Their receiving corps is as good as anybody, and they came from nowhere.
Yeah.
I think Florida's done a phenomenal job in the portal. I like I like Tramel Jones a lot. I like Aaron Filo a lot. I like Will Griffin a lot. And I'm going on what I've seen. I've seen Tramel in person. I've never seen Filo. I've seen him in a few clips, and I've seen clips of Will Griffin. But I don't care where you play. If you're the all-time leading passer in your state, you throw a lot of completions. And that's all that matters at quarterback. If you can't throw completions, you need to find a play, and you need another position to play. It's that simple.
And let's not forget, Philo was coached by John Rick, Mark Rick's son, in high school in Georgia. So fundamentally sound there, had a lot of good things to say. Everything that I hear about Philo, I hear is about kind of toughness, kind of the ability, a gamer, the ability, which, the previous Florida quarterback, let's face it, probably wasn't. So
No.
I think that's an intangible too. And that's what they're looking for from that position. That's what John Sumrall wants, a little toughness, a little moxie from that position. And, based on everything I'm hearing, that's what Aaron Philo is going to bring. And you like Tramel's upside too, and two dual threat guys. And, the fact that, Philo is familiar with Buster Faulkner's offense, that's going to, make the transition smoother as well.
Yeah, I think Faulkner's got the guy he wants there for sure. Well, I feel pretty good about it. And listen, I love Lagway. I loved him. And I know the downside. I know the problems in retrospect. He was pushed in when he shouldn't have played. He was injured. Probably should have gotten the surgery then. We'll always remember him for what he did those last 5-6 games when he played so great, brought us some hope. But he could not run the football. And this offense have to have somebody run the football. Now, the new offense, Buster Faulkner's these guys got to run the ball, right, Shane? His quarterback's got to run.
No.
Well, he does. He did in the Georgia Tech offense
Because that's their quarterback that started was a very inefficient thrower. Maybe I didn't phrase that right. You go back, Buster Faulkner. Look at what he did at Arkansas State as an offensive coordinator. He threw it around like you wouldn't believe. He threw it around with Stetson Bennett. He was in charge of Stetson Bennett the 2 national championship years. Another guy who was not highly rated. He was a walk-on. They will run the quarterback some, but you're not going to see a bunch of running quarterback.
Okay, Kevin?
Yeah, no, I agree. Everything I hear about Buster Faulkner is he plays to the strengths of the offense and what his people do well. I do think, though, there are some spread tendencies where there's going to, be some lanes for them to run, very similar to what, Billy Gonzalez did with DJ Lagway last year. I think there'll be opportunities there here and there. But, I think Buster's going to want him to throw the ball pretty much as well. And, you got Shaden Ball back there to run the ball. So I think it's going to be a good offense from that standpoint. And you saw late last year, I think even the threat of a quarterback running the football will open things up for Ball as well.
I'm going to get to a subject here, and I want you all to pay attention to this because it's something, it's near and dear to all of our hearts, especially the guys who call themselves journalists. And it kind of flies in the face a little bit of what I believe, although I'm trying to be open-minded about this. And and I will say, not everybody feels this way. Sure. I know Kevin's very much a journalist who believes in taking the middle of the road. However, if he's covered the Miami game, he's going to be pulling up with the Hurricanes. You just can't help it. You have to.
I'm not going to be covering the game, buddy. I'm going to be off.
No, that's not what I said. Now, don't start making excuses. It's true. Right. Okay. So the reason I'm bringing this up, and we'll bring Franz on, Shane, you probably don't agree with this. Did you all hear the story about the Jacksonville woman?
Yes.
Who is she's an editor of a paper there in Jacksonville. After the press conference started, and they got beaten a heartbreaking game. Liam Coleman was on, and this woman took the opportunity to sort of help her to say how much she appreciated what he had done, and she went over the top with it without a doubt. Bring Franz on, and I wrote about this because Franz has run up against this too. There are those of us who are journalists. Well, Franz keeps popping off. I don't know why. There are those of us who are journalists who have compassion for what the players and coaches do because we know about them and we have relationships and we know stories about them and we talk to them or hear them or whatever and know about them. And consequently, we can't help but root for them as people or whatever. You're not going to get the press box to get a pom-pom. I don't mean it that. But the fact is that there's a little tinge. I know Shane certainly opens and he roots for the Gators, but he also is very honest and he's very level.
I'm not a journalist, buddy. I'm not a journalist.
That's my point. You're not a journalist, but this guy is. These two guys are, and I am. And I wrote this today, and I wanted to address it. It says, in view of how Jacksonville woman is being eviscerated for her sympathetic, over-the-top comments, questions after Coach Liam Cohen's devastating Jaguars loss, we ask AI, artificial intelligence, to write a suggested guideline and a bit of a mea culpa for those who support their team and struggle to remain semi-objective in the professional media circles. So here it goes. And I said, please, my journalist brethren and sisters, don't retch just yet, but let's hear me out. So it goes on talking about what post-game press conferences are right, credential media, whatever. And this woman, Lynn Jones of the Jacksonville Free Press, showered effusive praise onto Cohen mere minutes after the Jags 3-point loss. And Cohen didn't really know what to say. Here's what she said. How you doing today? I'm Lynn Jones, Jacksonville's Free Press. I want to tell you congratulations on your success, young man. You hold your head up high, all right? You guys had the most magnificent season. You did a great job out there. You just hold your head up high, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, Duval, you're the one. Keep it going. We got another season to go, okay? Take care and much continued success to the entire team. Every full-time journalist cringed, but there's a little piece of her in all of us a little bit, all right? So that's what I wrote about. Now, first of all, let me ask the non-journalist, Shane, what do you think of that?
I don't know what you're supposed to do, but I've never heard anything like that in a press conference.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably something that you do on the side, is my guess.
Yes. Okay. Good evening, friends. We're going to get into your book signings in just a minute, the success of your book. Before we give it to Kevin, let me get your take on that, because you and I have had a lot of private conversations about things like we talked about this a lot. We've been through the wars together for a long time, and we've seen people come and go that we like a lot. And but Franz, give me your immediate reaction to it.
Well, that was over the top for a press conference. But, goodness, who among us is going to say that we're not in a press box full of people pulling for a team? Mm-hmm. We may not jump up and cheer. We may not scream, do all that stuff that we're not supposed to do, but we all cheer for our team. I make them, Florida's the only team that ever mattered to me. So do you think I'm going to sit up there and say, well, gee, in my objective best, that was a bad play? No, hell no. I'm going to say if it was bad, I'll say it. Yeah, and I'm going to say, why, didn't you see the guy that was open there? Shane sees the whole field up there. I love talking to him at halftime when I find out all the stuff I missed, and it's so good to have him up there. But we cheer. Yeah, we may not be able to just get out there and jump up and down like fans do who are half lit anyway, but we cheer.
All right, let's have the real true journalist let him go at it. He can do this because Florida's not his team.
I'm gonna submit to you, because I've been fortunate to cover national championship seasons in football, basketball, baseball. It's more fun to cover a team when they're winning, when they aren't, for sure. You know what I mean? And you can get caught up in it a little bit. That being said, I think with Lynn, even with the way she started that question was okay, but the Duval got over the top. Mm-hmm. If you followed that with a question, hey, hold your head up. Well, what do you think about this, or how do you build off it? I mean, that would have been acceptable. I'm more mad at Adam Schefter for retweeting it, to be honest with you, and making it viral, and for him to say, this is wonderful, you know what I mean? And it makes you wonder, and this is me being the conspiracy theorist, right? ESPN now owned by the NFL Network, owned by the, you know what I mean? Was he told to do this? I mean, that's kind of like, it's kind of ridiculous that,
I don't think he was told to do it.
There
but
was
anyway,
there was
that's
a
good question.
but it's just showing him as a house man, and he should know better. I mean, he's an actual journalist, right? And he came up to that
Understand.
for his bones, and that's my point on that matter. And listen, I mean, look, the poor woman works for, obviously smaller publication, and she's trying to be compassionate, she's trying to do her best, but
She's a local conscience. Yeah.
It was Schefter that made that moment viral, and Schefter should have known better not to use his platform in that situation. I think
I would like to make a personal comment, and Franz, you go ahead. And I know that Shane wants to go watch the football game. I'll let him go in a second. Let me make this comment. I'm going to defend myself just a little bit.
Sure.
I read the comments. I hear people talk about me being a homer and all the things they think about me. But I may say one thing for myself. And Franz, you can vouch for this. At one time in my career, I was a badass. Okay? And I'm telling you, I took the Florida Gators to task big time.
Yes,
I had a story one time that I knew, and I had the letter to prove it. They were going to be investigated by the NCAA. I had it from the guy who ran the NCAA in a letter, and I was the only person who knew it. And I sat on it for 2 weeks and said, I got to write this. And I wrote it. It broke, obviously, all over the state. And people denied it. Florida denied it. And the president of the University of Florida, Stephen C. O'Connell, in print, called Buddy Martin a liar. So he didn't know what he was talking about. I had a letter in my hand, okay? And he had to retract that. So I don't say that to brag. I just say that I went from being a guy that I've had my moments. I did not see eye to eye with Doug Dickey at all. And he and I went round and round. And he came down and asked me to be a part of the program in St. Pete. Nothing against Doug. I said, Doug, no thank you. My whole career doesn't hinge on Florida winning or losing football games. Pretty arrogant, probably, but that's how I felt. I say that because I was a badass, okay? And that's how I took my journalistic approach, Kevin. Just in case it ever comes up when I'm gone and you're reading my obituary. Just remember, I was not the mamby-pamby, orange and blue glasses guy. I was not the Lynn. What was your name?
You were the sports of the New York Daily News, and I grew up reading in the 1980s. You hired Mike Lupick. I know your credentials.
I just want to get that on the record for myself, and I feel better having said it. Now I'll get off the subject, and Franz, go ahead.
Well, I'll give you a good example of journalism as we know it.
Let me say goodnight to Shane. He's got to go, and then he's got to watch
this game. See you in the morning, Shane.
See you in the morning,
All right,
Shane.
fellas.
Be on the road.
Hey,
Thanks, Shane Matthews. All right, buddy. Thank you. All right, thank you. All right, so go ahead, Franz.
I'll give you the perfect example. You take the end of Ole Miss and Miami, and I know Kevin was sitting there in his seat hoping that the Canes would win.
Pulling my hair out like this. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. That was the most blatant pass interference call and no call. And I watched and I listened, waiting for something from Kirk Herbstreit and Fowler to say, that was a rotten call. And it was a rotten no call. But instead, they're sitting there putting on airs like they're like, oh my gosh, I have to be neutral. You can be neutral to the point of being neutered, and they were. That was
ESPN covered it though after the fact. They did on SportsCenter. They made issue of it, I will say.
Yeah, Louis Riddick was extraordinarily good on it. But the thing about it is, if we're going to be journalists, and we are, and maybe we pull for our teams. There's nothing wrong with pulling for your team.
Well, now everybody does on ESPN. Now they all say my Tigers, my Jags, my whatever. They openly do it now. But
I think you want to show that you're a sports fan. I think there are shades of gray to everything, and there are certain lines, but there are things that. I think especially in a press conference setting, and I think that's where Lynn, you kind of don't cross it. But I do think there is a pressure, or there has been, I've seen in the last 2 decades of, you want to be kind of likable, the fan base too. And sometimes you trade objectivity for access too, in terms of coaches. That's the biggest trend I've seen. The guys, and the ones that have done that effectively are the ones that have gotten ahead, certainly. But I tend to hold to my scruples pretty hard on that. I just believe that I'm a professional observer, and you have to kind of like, and as I often say too, it's kind of funny. Like Duke Werner was giving me a hard time, I think, before the Sweet 16 against Maryland. Why you write something good, Kevin? I said, I have no control over that. It's how the team performs. You guys play well, you'll get your flowers. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I'm a professional. I don't have any control over that. You guys go out and you do the job, and I'll write what I see. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the way I've always gone about it.
And you like it to be good, friends.
Well, I'll give you an example. I had before the 2013-14 season, Kevin, you'll remember this. I broke a story that Scotty Wilbekin was going to be suspended for a couple of ball games, and oh my gosh, I became persona non grata. Now it would absolutely, to this day, people's sphincters would become like that if they knew who told me that. Because I got that from an inside source, but I to this day have never revealed who that was. But it turns out it was true. But as you remember, my gosh, it took me half a season before a lot of people would even talk to me. So it swings both ways. I mean, I pull for the Gators, but when there's a story out there that I got to write, I got to write it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I respect that.
We wrote the story about the coaching situation in Florida. Remember that we wrote that story about the plane going up to the Northeast, and we knew we had it because we knew the plane, knew the people, and whatever. And they were going to try to hire what's his name, guys? When I draw a blank,
Chip Kelly.
Chip Kelly. And we were told by some people who were wrong that there was a contract. They said they saw it, but anyway, we never said they were going to sign him or he was going to be the coach. Some people to this day accuse me of saying that. I never said that, but I did say they're going to go up there. I had other media brothers and sisters call me, buddy, are you sure of that? Yeah, I'm sure of it. Are you sure you got that right? I'm sure I got it right. I know it. Okay.
Right.
And hey, I mean, we had that. Now, that's once every 15, 20 years in your life, you get something stone cold like that. Most of the time, it's luck, that you get it.
Bob Redmond and I had the story that Urban Meyer was going to be the next coach at Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Within days after the firing of Ron Zook. And we got called every kind of name in the book. Well,
but you and Redmond deserved it.
Yeah, we did. But here's the thing.
Oh, again.
Here's the thing. Again, this is one of these cases where I don't care what anybody said. My source trumped every source you could have possibly had on that one. And or who I'm talking about, buddy.
Yeah.
But it's one of these things. We've neither Bob nor I have ever revealed who the source was. And we were right. There was all this crap about, he might go to Notre Dame. No, he wasn't. He wasn't ever going to Notre Dame.
Well, he did get tempted because, and I have this in the book, and because they made a big run at him. And that night, Urban had to stop and think about it. He did think about it.
He thought about it, but he was never going
That's
there.
after he accepted the job. He did have second thoughts that night. He did. But Jeremy came in and closed the deal on it. He did come. He was thinking about it.
I don't doubt that he thought about it. Everybody thinks about it. I mean, Kevin left Indiana.
Speaking of which, it's a good point to change the subject.
It could be with 15-0 Indiana.
All right, let's go now to that very subject, which I contend this might be the best college football story in my career. I don't cover it, and Kevin, you're close to it, but given what we have had and the way this team has played, the Cignetti and his quarterback and Mendoza and all the stuff, and now the angle about them playing against Miami, a team that that they grew up with, and their parents were involved there, and he played there. This is an unbelievable story, friends. this Indiana story.
It's absolutely amazing. You know, you look at the storylines of this whole thing. Cignetti is the guy that got Nick Saban's personnel choices narrowed down. He did it in such a way that Nick just had, when Cignetti left, Nick hired somebody who'd do the same thing. But Curt Cignetti started that. I contend that Mario is the best offensive line coach he ever had while he's there. You look at that 2015 coaching room that he had. My gosh, he's got Mario in there. He's got Dan Lanning in there, Kirby Smart in there. He's got Lane Kiffin in there, Tosh Lupoy. I mean, everybody just about who down to the water boy is a head coach somewhere. And yet, there's so many great stories out of this. And one of the great stories to me, honest to goodness, and I'm gonna throw it at you, Kevin, is you were up there at Indiana when Indiana was really in bad shape. You can relate, and probably, I know you're a Hurricane fan, but you can probably relate to how well Curt Cignetti has turned this thing around because you were there when they were losing.
You know, I like to point out, though, and believe it or not, in 2019 and 2020, there was a little resurgence there under Tom Allen when they had Michael Penix, if you remember the COVID game.
Yeah.
They upset Penn State. They had to check. Kalen DeBoer was the offensive coordinator in 2019. And then obviously began his kind of rise from Fresno State to Washington to Alabama. And then the bottom fell out. And I remember having a conversation with an assistant coach at Indiana at a bar during that time, a football coach who's since moved on to another SEC team. And he told me, he said, he kind of warned me, he said, Kevin, what Tom Allen is trying to do at Indiana is tremendously hard. And then the next year in 2021, the bottom fell out. They went 2-10. They rushed Penix back from ACL surgery. It wasn't the same. Tom Allen gets fired, but then Cignetti comes in and takes it to another stratosphere. And I mean, this is a team that, you know, you watch them against Oregon and their machine and their team. They don't beat themselves. They're very physical across both front lines. And they just he looks like the reincarnation of Saban in terms of just how process oriented they are up there and how they, you know, and that's the thing about, you know, like I said, Miami to me, I'll say it, they look like a sloppy team at times. But they have enough talent, or they've got enough talent to get to that point. But again, and I said this early in the show, they cannot be that sloppy against Indiana. Otherwise, you know, Orange Bowl or not, home to Hard Rock Stadium or not, they'll get embarrassed. They'll lose by 2 or 3 touchdowns if they play the way they did against Ole Miss.
Yeah, they didn't just beat these teams; they destroyed these teams.
Yeah,
and
and they take advantage of every mistake too. I mean,
and they will do the same to Miami if they don't. Like you said, if they make mistakes, these guys are opportunistic. They will just you make a mistake and you can be 3 touchdowns behind before you know it. And so it's remarkable. So I'd say let's just do this real fast. And Franz, I wanted you to tell me about your great book signings you got coming up, and then I want to talk about our friend David Arnoff posted, what was Doug Dickey like? Well, David, you got a couple of weeks. We can tell you about that. Franz and I lived it. But you go ahead. We got these great book signings. I want to brag on them because I'm so happy about them. Tuesday in Ocala at Tom Ingram's Bank on the square right there, Cogent Bank. There's going to be some terrific people. Like Matt McCall's going to be there, Kevin. Matt McCall and Tom Ingram.
It's great for Matty. Tell him I said hello.
I won't be there, but Franz will. Franz is signing books. Yeah. He's got a bunch of books to sign. He'll be there. And there's prizes. We're giving away a championship ring to a lucky person who comes in and says the magic word, Meldon Law or Jeffrey Meldon. And then on Saturday at Chris Spears' place, Prestige Auto at 200, the great Chris Spears, whose pictures are all throughout this book. He's having another deal, and they're giving away a championship ring. So you'll be hearing about this on the air, on Steve Russell's show, on Shane Matthews' show, in Ocala, on Tom Schmidt's show, on WOCA, Ocala Talk. So, Franz, it's going to be a jolly good time in Ocala for the author of the book, The Golden Season.
I'm looking forward to it. Let me throw a shout out real quick, too, to our friend Kevin. Kevin's got a book out too, and it's extraordinarily well done. And I give you all the credit in the world for the hard work you put into that, Kev. But this one's about me, so
Enjoy.
This is not his signing, unfortunately. This is yours, but
this is mine.
Friends, this is your flowers, your time to shine. So go out there and enjoy it.
yeah.
Well, I'm very appreciative of the many kind words that people have had, and it's a little bit different for me. Kevin, you grew up a Miami fan, and it's kind of like, I'm sure, being a Miami fan and having been there in the 80s when they were so dominant, seeing this team and resurging like they are, I'm sure that's got to bring back a lot of warm and fuzzies for you. For me, having endured the Dickey years, to first win a game, you must avoid losing. Oh my gosh. I heard that so many times. I mean, I wake up.
General Neyland's where it came from.
Yes. What about the John Lotz years too?
Oh, he was doing well until Dick Grubar took a job making 3 times more money up in Chapel Hill. And when he lost Dick, he didn't have a recruiter anymore. But I've been through the research, the return of Norm, the bad years after there with Captain Ahab and Don DeVoe, and the late Dwayne Shensis, who never gets enough credit for what he did here, and he got portrayed as an absolute villain, and he was a kid with a real complex about his size and his height and people making fun of him, and along comes Don DeVoe just what he did to Dwayne's psyche. I don't know that Dwayne,
we don't have time for Dwayne's psyche right now. We're going to get about 4 subjects before the the book signing is Tuesday and Saturday, and I want to take. I got to hit about 4 subjects real fast.
Okay.
Doug Dickey, I'll give you my 30-second scenario. Friends, you guys hit it real hard. We got some questions here that people want us to answer. That Doug Dickey was a really great coach at Tennessee, did a great job, but the wrong guy at the wrong time. He came after Florida's super soft team, that great team that was so with Carlos Alvarez and John Reeves when they were sophomores. He came in and took over the Gators, and they never reached their potential, and Doug was not a very popular guy. Was there about 9 years, got fired. So loved Doug as a person, not as a coach. And he was had a boring offense. My sister literally could call the plays. Okay. That's Doug Dickey. Literally, she could call the plays. All right. So now a couple of things here we got. Okay. Indiana has the Rocky mentality that will take down Miami, says Gino, just like that movie. I think he's right. What do you guys think? I think they will too.
Indiana has the Rocky. Well, Indiana's favored by 7.5. If anyone's
but that just been favored. But he says they have that Rocky.
Rocky
to fight the boxer.
Yeah, but I think that Indiana is the clear favorite going into this game, and if anyone is an underdog going into this game, it's the Hurricanes, and that could. It reminds me a lot of that Miami-Nebraska game back in the day when they won their first national championship. And even though they were at home, Nebraska had that mighty team under Tom Osborne.
Right.
Real quick, if
Miami
doesn't turn it over, they can win. But I can't imagine that they won't turn it over at least once or twice.
Real quick, your friend Bill Feinberg says,
yes.
When will we get the real story on the 84, 85, and 90 teams being robbed of SEC titles? Who wants to take that one?
Ooh, I'll take that one. The chief culprit of this, and I hate to sound like I'm but it's one of the reasons I despise Georgia so much. Vince Dooley had his hand in that. There are a lot of culprits in there. Vince Dooley had his hand in it. There were
Tennessee, right? I heard too, right?
Tennessee,
he was involved in it. Yeah.
Tennessee was very heavily
involved. Was a big culprit in that.
Involved in it. and we had people here at the University of Florida that made promises to Charlie and didn't keep them. Charlie was promised that if he get rid of some of these assistant coaches who had their fingers all into the troubles, that he'd keep his job. I mean, Oklahoma did far worse. Oklahoma kept Barry Switzer. He fired a couple people, and they kept Barry Switzer, and twice, in fact. On and on and on. There were lots of coaches. Vince Dooley,
All right, now last one. We got to go. Jordan Seaton. I don't know who he is, but our guy JLB, Toronto Blue Jays, big follower of ours, says he just entered the transfer portal. He's from Braden. It was a 5-star. Kevin, you know who he is? Jordan Seaton.
Jordan Seaton. No, I know that they just got a commitment from Kyle.
He's not a commitment.
He's from Colorado. He's a tackle, which is good because I think they need a little help there. I know the kid from Stanford.
Jordan Seaton is a tackle?
He's an offensive tackle. Yeah, he's from Colorado.
He went to the portal. He's from Braden. It was a 5-star.
6'5", 330.
Oh, my gosh. You're getting some monsters in there.
A big kid, yeah. And, because Caleb Jones, I guess they're talking about left tackle, but I think they need help at tackle. Fletcher Westfall has some weird hand condition.
They got some big old boys coming. Stroutwine's got some, man. There's some big old guys coming.
He's got Boyer, but it seems like so far most of it is inside, not outside tackle.
The kid from Stanford's a player.
Yeah, well, he's I wrote about him today. All right, guys, thank you both. Great job. Franz, good luck on your interviews this week with the stations, with Franz and with Shane.
I will help with Shane in the morning, and it's always fun.
Steve Russell later on in the week.
Yeah.
Kevin, what you got coming out? You got 15 seconds. What your next week's about?
Yeah, I got something coming out tomorrow on college teams getting old and staying old, and the joke of Nigel Pack being a 6-year guy that's still tooling around,
Yeah, I'm getting tired of seeing 30-year-old guys playing college.
Doesn't
football.
Miami have a guy who's in his 7th year? Isn't the
There's
wide
several
receiver,
of those around? I gotta go, guys. Appreciate it. Great job. Thank you, guys. Take care. All right, folks. Thanks to Kevin and Franz. Don't forget Franz's books available. Go to Spurriers.com. If I go to the shop and get it there. I want to tell you about Titan MRI and Imaging. Now with 3 locations, soon to have 4. 2 in Gainesville with Park Avenue location now, Millennium Center, 1 in Lake City, serving all of Columbia County and Valdosta, Georgia. They're known for their quick turnarounds and their innovations. And they're known for the fact that they're customer oriented. They offer the same great customer service. They accept insurance. You can go to their convenient self-pay option. Titan MRI Imaging offers MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, and ultrasounds. Easy scheduling with lots of options, including evenings. And don't forget, my favorite part is the larger MRI machines for your patient comfort. You don't have to get claustrophobic. You can go there and you can get your business done and get it done at a time when you want it to be done. And rest assured, they got your extras. Titan MRI Imaging, you'll be glad you went. You have options. I strongly suggest you try them out. All right, folks, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks to our guest tonight, Shane Matthews earlier, of course, Franz, and appreciate all his work he's done, and Kevin Brockway as well. So we will be back. Tomorrow night you have Lauren Meadows. He does a great job. If you haven't heard his show, be sure and tune it in. It's terrific, and he'll give you some good stuff, and then we're back on the beam on Wednesday. All right? Have a good night, folks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell